Let me tell you a little bit what we're doing. Michael Fullan talks about tri-level reform. I think we're talking here about system reform and the recognition that we need to be working at all levels in that system, from national policy level down to the district level, down to the school level, down to the community level. So a different model of system reform than potentially we've seen before. There is something called the School Effectiveness Framework, and I think Michelle talked lunchtime to a few of you about what that involves. So this is the sort of overarching policy, and you can't see the detail of that very well. Suffice to say that it remains a policy document unless we put in place an implementation strategy. And this is where I come into the picture. The policy document existed, but there was no real mechanism for delivering this policy document, no real mechanism for actually engaging schools with this particular framework. So the challenge, as far as I could see, was very much about establishing strong professional learning communities in schools. Because everything I'd read, everything I'd looked at, all the school improvement evidence were pointing in that particular direction. So how do we do that so that we get change practice in schools in Wales, so we get change outcomes? That has to be the bottom line. And in terms of the things that we're currently working on, and we're going to get your reflections on this, because by no means have we got a blueprint. By no means have we got it absolutely right. It is still work in progress. And standing here in front of all of you, I feel slightly vulnerable in saying, you know, I'm not 100% sure that we're doing everything we could be doing, or we're going in the direction that we should be going in. So your feedback is going to be really important. So it's about school and district-wide innovation. It's about interdependent professional learning. And I think that's really important to underline, the interdependent notion, which is key to networking. And the focus on instructional change, okay? Focus on teaching and learning. Here are the non-negotiables. There are 3 non-negotiables. The first is our PLCs, as we are calling them, have to focus on learning outcomes, first and foremost. The second is they have to use evidence or inquiry. They have to look at what research says about the particular issue that they're investigating. Because we need informed decision-making, don't we? And we can't have that unless we inquire. Otherwise, we just simply recycle our own prejudices and knowledge. And the model is very much about professional empowerment and accountability. Now, what I've not said to the Welsh Assembly government is once we release this into the system, there is no putting it back. Once we give teachers the sense of their own ownership of change, yeah, there is no putting it back in the box. I haven't told them that. So if they think at any moment in time that once I've done this and left the country next March or May, that they're going to mandate to these teachers what needs to happen, they need to think again. So 2 key principles from the model that Michelle and I are developing, drawing on the work that Linda and Judy have done, drawing on the work that all you have done, and there's nothing here to surprise you. The notion of collaboration, but also inquiry, that twofold prong. And these are some of the implementation processes that we're engaging in. Building strong professional learning communities through broad-based leadership and the relentless focus on learning. And we become really boring because we continually say to teachers, you know, it's about learning, it's about learning, it's about learning. It's not about teaching. That sounds odd, but we start with the learner's needs first. That's right, isn't it? That's what you told me to say. You start with the learner's needs. Where we're going is to sort of build professional learning communities within schools first, to gain the expertise, and then across schools and between schools. And we're hoping that through that infrastructure, we will not only just implement the policy document, but we will bring about system-wide change. So we're pretty ambitious at that level. We think we're building some capacity at different levels in the system. And if you look at the Ontario model, if you look at other models that are successful, it is about capacity building. Okay, so right now where we are, you might not think this is very good, but we've got 1,800 plus schools in Wales. We've now touched 820. So I think we're sort of almost at a tipping point where if we can get beyond the 1,000, if we can get to the 1,200, then we will create a momentum. And one of the really heartening things was that we had some feedback from schools, and it was clear that they were actually doing the work. They were actually building their own professional learning communities, and they were actually focusing on learning outcomes. So, you may tell us that's good or not good, but we're quite encouraged by that. We've had no sleep for 3 weeks, but that's okay. The future considerations for the work in Wales are twofold, really. It's how do we scale up? How do we go from the few to the many? How do we go from 820 to 1,800? How do we go from those people who are with us to those people who might resist us? And how do we sustain that over time? Because it's easy to put that infrastructure in place, but how do we sustain that over time?